Hi, I'm Edwin Samuelson, and welcome to CineFiles, the show that allows you to eavesdrop on the conversations of fellow film fanatics. All right, today we're going to be talking about John Hughes. Right. Where the hell are you? But before I begin, let me introduce my panel. To my left, Eric Cohen. To his left, Jeff Galashaw. And to his left, Michael Fultz. Anyway, today's topic, again, I said, is John Hughes. As you might remember his name, he was a very big director in the 80s of teen comedies, and he went on to retire in the mid-90s and actually hasn't been heard from in maybe about 10 years since, I think, the last Home Alone film. It's a shame because John Hughes was a very unique director-writer at the time, is that he captured teenage life better than anybody, I think. I mean, the dialogue, the situations, they really did feel very real. John Hughes started out as a writer for National Lampoon magazine and worked at an ad agency, and on the side, he wrote some scripts. His first script was a terrible film called National Lampoon's Class Reunion, which...
It wasn't that horrible. It was okay.
It has none of the characteristics of a John Hughes film, though.
No, it was more like a hodgepodge of more ideas and characters and skits and just all taking place at one location.
With a sight gag sort of like, I guess, a kind of airplane mentality.
Yeah, it was, I guess it sort of went to that whole like Animal House mentality also, where it's just like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this happened?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
What was so good about it then?
I said it was okay. I didn't say it was good.
It's
okay,
pretty bad.
Somewhat
rating.
Endorsement.
I mean, if you're a completist, I would say see it.
See it anyway if you want to see your John Hughes movies. It has an early appearance by Anne Ramsey from The Goonies, which is on your shirt.
Exactly.
And he also went on then afterwards to write Mr. Mom, and then he wrote his most successful film at the time, which was the National Lampoon's Vacation film, which Chevy Chase, which actually I would say is the first film that actually contained a lot of his characteristics of comedy. And the thing about John Hughes films is they all really do feel consistent. They really do, even though they're directed by different people, some of them, they really do feel like they've all come from the same creative mind. I think you guys would agree with me on that, wouldn't you?
I would definitely. I don't know about these two.
They have the same. They have the same tone.
The same tone and feel.
Even for the films that aren't directed by him, they feel like they're directed by him.
Absolutely. That's why I mean. That's a very unique thing too, especially coming to that he's a writer.
It's the writing. It's very strong writing, a very strong characterization, and by doing that, you set a certain tone. So from beginning to end, you have, you know, films that feel like one another.
They really do feel like one another. But let's start off with Vacation, because that's, I guess you could say, is the first film to put him on the map, and actually is probably the most successful series he ever had. There's 4 movies, for Christ's sake. He wrote 3 of them. He didn't really do anything with the last one. But National Lampoon's Vacation actually was
Chevy Chase's last funny film.
Actually, his first funny film, if you ask me, and his last. Chevy Chase.
I'm not a Chevy Chase fan, but I like the film.
Well, I don't think you've seen his talk show. I don't think you'll be a fan of his ever again if you saw that talk show.
I unfortunately saw the talk show.
Oh boy. But yes, the National Lampoon's Vacation. What are your guys' opinion of that one? It's the ultimate vacation from hell.
Well, I mean, ignoring the other vacations, which are very easy to do.
Yes.
The first one, I mean, the first one's got some really interesting things. It's got a wonderful cameo by Imogen Coca. It's got Randy Quaid is brilliant in it.
Yeah.
Beverly D'Angelo, she's all right.
And let's not forget
John Hughes, or not John Hughes. John Cusack's in it, right?
No, John Candy's in it, and you're thinking of Anthony Michael Hall.
John Candy's wonderful as the security guard.
And actually, that's the first appearance by Anthony Michael Hall, who would actually go on to star in a lot of other John Hughes films.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think it's funny, but not terribly funny.
He did.
I'm gonna play the role of Jeff in this particular episode.
Please.
John Hughes just doesn't excite me at all. I'm just
not even when you were a teenager.
You know what? Maybe for like 5 minutes. Breakfast Club. You know, I think I like Breakfast Club because all my friends liked it. It's one of those films. And I think I was supposed to like it more than I did.
I think you liked it because of hey. You know.
It's just, I don't know. Vacation was at the time I thought was funny. I was disappointed that there wasn't enough nudity in it. because I was expecting another Animal House, Porky's kind of thing.
Well, it had the National Lampoon's name on
I
it.
remember when I was a kid, and you know, Chevy Chase. Yeah, I agree. It was like his last film. You know, Chevy Chase is just this poor guy who was funnier when he was hooked on drugs. You know,
Isn't that sad?
it's really sad.
It's always the opposite.
You know,
I did like Randy Quaid just sitting there and. When he's sitting there with the spoons, like,
and you know, you put a shout out for him
real
making
tomato
Coco.
ketchup, Eddie, and he's like, nothing but the best.
My favorite.
It's the funniest one of the series.
I
mean,
can agree
of
with
the
you on
Vacation
that.
series.
My favorite line, there's a very small one where Anthony Michael Hall is visiting his redneck cousins and asking him if he has certain video games. He goes, nope. Do you have asteroids? Oh, my dad does.
I'm very surprised you like that so much.
No, I just thought it was a
King
very.
of the sophomore
Thinks it's
humor over
funny.
here.
I thought it was
I
so
know, it's
dumb it's
shocking.
funny. It was so dumb it's funny.
It's funny.
What about the French kissing? Dad says I do it best.
And let's not forget, of course, the wonderful, wonderful moments at the end in the Wally world with John Candy. Those are some of the
Oh
highlights.
yeah,
of
as the
film.
security guard, he's wonderful.
Wonderful, and John Candy, you can easily see why John Hughes wanted to work with him because he works so well in this film.
John Candy's cameos, that should be a CineFiles show. I mean, his cameo in Blues Brothers is wonderful.
Well, he's made a lot of cameos in John Hughes films, even films that he wasn't the star. You know, like
Orange Wick.
I cannot think of the film, the one with Frank Whaley.
I know the one you're talking about, Career Opportunity.
Career Opportunities, and he's also in a couple.
She's having a baby.
Yep.
Home Alone.
JFK.
Well, that's not
Which
a
John
Hughes film.
Hughes did not have any.
Yeah, I'd love to see John Hughes' version of JFK.
His best movie.
Yeah, his best movie. Well, anyway, let's get on to his other films. Of course, we did after Vacation. John Hughes actually went on to write and direct his own film, and actually it's become sort of a teen classic now. The film is 16 Candles, stars Molly Ringwald,
It's always been 16 Candles, not now.
and Michael Anthony Hall, or Anthony Michael Hall. Michael Anthony Hall is his real name. He just reversed it. It's the first film that actually
With Michael Schaffling, who I thought was going to be a huge star after that, is Jake, the love interest of Molly Ringwald.
That's right. Whatever happened to him?
He became a carpenter.
Ooh, that's
It's
sad.
scary that both Jeff and I know that.
How did you guys know that?
Well,
That
he
is
was
weird.
in Longtime Companion, and then he was in Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, and
Mermaids.
and then
Basically,
after
he's
that,
the reverse Harrison
and he
Ford.
he got sick. Yeah, basically, he got sick of the being in the Hollywood game and became a carpenter in Pennsylvania.
And everybody thought he was like Matt Dillon. So
Good for him.
Well,
Yeah,
six-
he is sort of Matt Dillon-like.
16 Candles does have some very wonderful moments about being a teenager and just.
and a lot of comedy you couldn't get by today because it would be deemed racist.
I would say that of all of his teenage films, which is pretty much most of them,
Nearly all of them,
16 Candles, I think, is his best one.
I probably agree.
It doesn't feel.
Although I have a
There's sort of some inspired lunacy in it, and what happens, and
There's
it feels
good
a little more
slapstick in there, I
yeah,
think.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's well done, and all the characters are kind of interesting, and
wonderful performances.
yeah,
great sight gags. Joan Cusack trying to get a drink of water with the scoliosis brace. That's great.
And then using the skirt.
The two guys doing Jake and his friend doing chin-ups, and neither one is off the ground.
My favorite gag, of course, is the one where Anthony Michael Hall gets to show the panties. Just the way
I think
that
Michael
that's
Hall's brilliant in this movie. He was really good. He really
Farmer
nailed
Ted.
playing that kind of character too, which is like really hard to do if you're that age.
And he played a nerd, but he played a nerd that was believable, not just like the
Yeah,
ultimate,
exactly.
taped glasses,
It all went wrong when he
And now
tried to
he's
be the
gonna
leading
in,
man in Johnny
the
Be
Dark
Good.
Knight, the Batman Begins
Getting
sequel.
pumped up.
Well, after let's see. So 16 Candles, you say.
Oh,
was the
and
best
you
film.
know
I
something?
think it's his
What's
best-
his name?
best team.
Paul, Molly Ringwald's father.
Paul
and-
Dooley.
Paul
Yeah,
Dooley,
Paul Dooley's
an Altman regular. He is so wonderful as her dad. Lends this like touch of class and dignity, but really like soft humor. It's a great film from beginning to end. John Cusack's in it as one of
his
Anthony
buddies.
Michael Hall, Farmer Ted's best friend.
Well, let's not forget one more person. Let's not forget Long Duck Dong, a.k.a.
Getty
Getty
Wantabe.
Wantabe, who is absolutely wonderful as the exchange student. And actually,
Who's actually from Utah.
What's her name? Angelica Houston's in it.
is she?
Isn't she the tall,
No.
like geeky girl that he? I'm almost positive that's her.
No, that's not her.
Are you sure?
I don't know what movie
no,
you're
no.
thinking.
Trust me, look
That's
it up.
not
I'm almost
her, you
positive.
nut.
No, but Jamie Gertz
I
is
think
in
I'm
it.
right.
We're going to be holding CineFiles
think I'm
trials
right.
very
People,
soon.
yeah. This seat is for rent. This seat for rent.
That would have been. She would have gotten even more class into the film.
She's like, you're talking about Long Duck Dong's girlfriend, the big volleyball player, right? That's not
And
her.
I remember,
No.
because it was on recently. I was like, is that Angelica? And I saw the credits, and I
She's
was
like would be
almost positive
35
she was
years
in
old,
something.
depending on a teenager.
No, this was made
the
before. You
undercover
got to remember,
student.
this was made before
She's
Prizzy's
the narc.
Honor.
Yeah, it was. By
And
one
when
year.
she made Prizzy's Honor, she was in her late 20s.
That's hard to believe. She looks so much older.
Or something like that. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I could be
Eric
totally-
watches a lot of movies on peyote, folks.
I think, yeah, a little too much of that. All right, well, let's get
Whatever.
on to the next one. The next one, which is actually, I think is probably considered by most to be his most successful film, probably because the soundtrack really helped it, and that's Breakfast Club with, actually, the Brat Pack.
Don't you forget about me.
That's my most hated John Hughes film, by the way.
Interesting trivia
Can't
note.
stand the Breakfast Club.
Simple Minds sang the theme song, but the original person turned it down, and that was Billy Idol, who later re-recorded it for his greatest hits CD. So that's a little interesting, useless trivia for
Who
you.
cares?
Yeah, well, anyway, the story.
Some of us do. Okay.
Hey, I love Billy Idol.
If you think about it, it's the first film with a mutant in it, like a mutant superhero, because Emilio Estevez plays Banshee, because he can run and shatter glass with his voice. I have yet to figure that one out.
I don't remember that. Did Angelica Houston play that part?
Yeah.
Hasn't
Actually,
Hollywood
Danny
beaten
Houston.
Emilio Estevez down enough without you
No, but
picking on him?
isn't that the strangest scene that he can shatter glass by yelling?
Yes, it's
That-
a
he's
ridiculous
Banshee
scene.
from
I'll
the
admit,
X-Men.
it is a very funny scene.
Well, there's some things too. The movie, as everyone knows, is about a few kids in detention and their whole day spent there and what happens. I think it has some of the most unintentional, funny scenes I've ever seen in the movie, especially the scene where Emilio Estevez is describing why he's in
Yes, that
in
is
there, where
very
he talks about
hilarious.
taking masking tape and ripping hair off some guy's ass. It's supposed to be touching.
I had a friend that actually used that as an audition piece.
Oh my God! You
Yeah,
kidding
that whole
me?
yeah.
Oh my God!
Ali Sheedy
About
putting
the
the dandruff
second
on
best
her picture
audition
to
I've ever
provide
seen.
snow.
Which is a very well-remembered scene.
Yeah, well, and let's not forget what I think the most underrated and best performance in the movie, which is, oh my God, I am blanking on his name.
Paul Gleason.
Thank you. Who recently, I want to
Who
say,
recently passed,
died.
yes.
Was very
Yeah.
sad.
Oh, he's great, though.
Terrific in the movie. In
He's the
fact,
best part of that movie.
He parodies a performance in Not Another Teen Movie, but of course he is so good in this movie. Every movie needs a good villain, and when you get a good villain as good as he really holds that movie together.
Right.
Just his little scenes by themselves with just him in the office, like spilling the coffee and stuff, and singing "Old Man River." I mean, these are like wonderful little.
But we have to acknowledge, though. I mean, we're sort of knocking on Breakfast. Most of us are knocking on Breakfast Club a little bit.
It doesn't
But
hold
I'm
up
not.
well.
At the
as a
time that
film.
it came out, it did resonate a certain way with us as teenagers. We have to admit that.
I give it credit. It does have very good characterizations. The characters are very well defined, which is very unusual.
Well, it appeared to be because there was no film like that at the time. Most of the teenage films were like Porky's and things like that, and this was the first one that wasn't that kind of thing. But when you look back on it, there's a lot of illogical stuff going on.
Oh, I agree with this, especially the screaming glass. That's
Well, the screaming glass and the fact that they're all going to be friends after all this. Now they've come to an understanding. No, that would never happen.
Yeah,
you
not
know?
only friends, but relationships start out like
Right.
boyfriend girlfriend, and once again the nerd is left out of that equation.
all in one day.
But
by
the
way.
rich girl makes it with the bad boy, and the wrestler takes the girl, psycho
freak,
nerd, yeah,
the
the goth
weird
girl.
girl.
There's some very good direction to in there, especially the interactions with the janitor, who actually turns out to be the smartest of everyone there, I think. And the way
Cliche character.
Yeah, very good
We've
character.
Yeah,
Not
the
seen that
janitor with
before.
wisdom.
No, but I thought it was interesting where they were making fun of him, and he's like, "Well, I know where you're going to be in a few years, and all this, and how he has him in his place." It's
And
a
an
very good scene.
interesting trivia bit was that Rick Moranis was originally cast in that role.
I could never see that. He's just too nice of a guy. It seems like.
You know something? Let's go on to the next.
Next
film,
one. I wanna go to the
which
next
I
one.
Really,
My favorite.
To this day,
My
still,
favorite one.
I still enjoy.
My favorite one,
Oh,
and
Lord.
actually has
we go.
a great theme song by Danny Elfman as Oingo Boingo, which
Weird
is
Science.
Weird
Oh,
Science.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of something
I
else.
know that wasn't going to be the film you were going to
Oh,
name.
Weird Science, of course, is another movie with the third movie with Anthony Michael Hall.
Did John
Yeah,
Hughes
And
direct
John
that?
Hughes? Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
And it actually, I consider his to be his most entertaining and ludicrous film, but it's so much fun.
Yes, but it was also written in 2 days and it shows.
There's
If
some
you
problems,
look
but I
at the
think it's
film.
great. There's a great tribute to the Road Warrior, which has me crying every time I see it, with Vernon Wells reprising his role as the biker with the mohawk character,
And Michael Berryman.
and Michael Berryman from Hills Have Eyes. There's many
Great little cameos by Bill Paxton as Chet.
It's more than a cameo.
His
It's
first
more than
indelible
cameo.
character.
And Robert Downey Jr. as one of the bullies.
And what's so sad is that Bill Paxton is ashamed of that role, which I don't get. I think he's terrific in that movie.
It shows
he steals
he
the
has
movie.
comedic timing.
Yeah, that's probably his best performance.
No. What?
I'm not going to say it's his
What?
best
He's
performance.
very
it's not
funny in that
better-
movie.
It's a memorable performance,
Better
but
than-
not bad.
Better
I
than
agree. I
Hudson
think he's
in
one of the best
Aliens?
things in the movie.
See, you've
but I
opened a
don't-
can of
come
worms
on.
here with
I
that
think
statement.
it's
nuts.
Best
With that
performance.
statement.
I think Aliens is actually I take that. Aliens is his best performance, but I got to go
Oh,
with Weird Science
no,
second.
he's been better.
No,
What are you
I-
talking about?
I'm
He
not
was
agreeing.
fantastic as Hudson in Aliens. He was great.
His
He's
best
great, Hudson.
performance was in Twister. Just kidding.
So the auditions
I think he's
for
half serious.
CineFiles will be Wednesday the 17th.
Please come in.
Drunk Mexicans are welcome. You can't say that. All right. Anyway,
What you guys don't like Weird
Angelica
Science?
Houston was great in Weird Science.
Weird Science is okay. It's to me, it's not very memorable.
I'm surprised. you
Yeah,
say
I
that.
don't think I agree with him. It looks like it was written in 2 days. I think it's like
It
John
was.
Hughes attempting to do a body comedy this time around, but there's no bodiness in it. It's like
You know,
you're
Kelly-
waiting for something
Not
to
much
happen.
LeBrock.
nudity.
Yeah, you expect
there
if
needs to
Kelly
be more
LeBrock's in it, she
swearing
should
or
be
raunchiness or
naked
just
all over the
general
place.
more bodiness, lewd humor, but it never happens. And
Whatever
it's like
happened
weird in
to
that way.
Anthony Michael Hall's partner in that?
He
kid?
became
Yeah.
a professor on medieval politics.
Man, he refused to have his
Wow.
picture taken.
Exactly.
okay.
Because he
That's
grew a
interesting.
beard.
Because he was like a big '80s star. What was his name?
Ian Mitchell Smith.
Was he a big 80s star?
He was a big '80s
What else
star.
was he
No,
on?
Not
was
big. He was
like-
in The Wildlife, and he was in The Chocolate War.
And he was also in another
Right,
movie
right,
called
right.
Journey to the Center of the Earth, which never got released.
I did not see
Like
Yeah,
Canon
he had to
Films.
battle John Glover in that Baltimore accent.
But-
Come on, sport.
oh, yeah,
Kelly
they're good.
LeBrock was recently in that celebrity
Fit Club.
Fit Club thing.
Was she that fat?
Yeah, she was.
She bet she lost a lot of
Really?
weight.
She wasn't
looks great.
fat, but she was like,
Voluptuous?
more so.
Well,
you do
being
her?
married to Steven Seagal really does make you get
She looked.
fat.
She looked. She
Made
looked
press.
out of shape as opposed to
She
voluptuous.
looked as out of shape
Did
as
she
Steven
get into
Seagal.
good shape?
I didn't stick around for the rest.
She
I think
did.
was that the
She
one
lost
with Gary
almost
Busey
won.
on it?
She
Because
almost
Gary
won.
Busey was really the only entertaining thing.
She
on
almost
that.
she looked very good. I think she was one of the top losers of the show. Well,
Let's talk
that's a good
about
thing.
Pretty in Pink, my second favorite John
Well,
Hughes film.
all right, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love Pretty in Pink. I love that friggin' movie. I don't know why. It just
I
really
think I know.
resonated with me at the time.
Could it be Harry Dean Stanton is in this one?
Harry Dean Stanton's great in it. Andrew McCarthy's great in it. You know, he plays Andrew McCarthy essentially, but he's good in it. John Cryer's good in it. Even though I didn't like the character of Ducky, and I thought he really needed his ass beaten in the film, but I kind of like that he's like redeemed at the end with getting this hot piece of ass out of nowhere. And
Interesting. Anthony Michael Hall turned down that role.
yeah, I heard Robert Downey Jr. turned down that role as
He
well.
also did.
And you know what's so funny? You're talking about Anthony Michael Hall. Stanley Kubrick actually saw Anthony Michael Hall in 16 Candles and cast him in Full Metal Jacket,
yeah.
which I could not believe. He said he was one of the most talented actors he's ever seen. He actually said that on record. Kubrick said that, but he just didn't work out with those two. That's a shame.
quit.
They caught Kubrick on an off day.
Hey, I think Anthony Michael Hall was a talented actor. It's just a shame he was never really able to get out of that team.
I actually kind of agree with that because at his age, doing the kind of performances he was doing in the films he was doing was actually pretty good.
They're very well-rounded
Then he got
characters.
stuck in some rut. Anthony
Well, they're
Michael Hall,
memorable.
right?
I
Drugs.
think once he grew up, I don't know, he just couldn't find. Like once he got out of the teen years, the only thing I saw him do effectively was he played an okay Bill Gates.
I thought he
in
was
that
very good at Bill
TNT
Gates.
film.
He was good in Edward Scissorhands.
and 6 Degrees of Separation. He was good as like the little gay trainer.
And also-
I thought he was good in Edward Scissorhands. That was like his comeback role, and everyone
As
was
a
like,
bad
"Holy
guy.
shit, that's Anthony Michael Hall."
And he was
looks
really
He looks
evil.
so different.
Yeah, very evil
Pumped up.
character. You know.
I haven't seen his Dead Zone TV series, so I have no idea.
But he's not a bad actor. But back to Pretty in Pink. Why is that your favorite? It's just because of the characterizations. I mean,
Yeah, I think all the characters are very vivid. I think it's a real old-fashioned romantic story, like girl or guy on wrong side of tracks or whatever, and it's spelled out really well. James Spader is wonderfully evil in the film. Annie Potts is wonderful. She has a great little character moment in there, and Harry Dean Stanton is great as the dad. I mean, Harry Dean Stanton is great in anything he does. I mean, damn it, I love that man. He is fantastic. But
yes.
it's so funny how he made the same movie almost a short time later and rewrote the sexes into some kind of wonderful, which is almost
yeah, but
exactly
by
identical.
reversing the sexist things, he also made Mary Stuart Masterson into a lesbian, essentially. I mean, come on, let's not kid ourselves, people.
The reason I liked the Pretty in Pink was the one thing I thought was very interesting is how he shows that Molly Ringwald from this being a lower class, I don't want to say lower middle class person, and you see how the other half is, with the society and the cliques and all that. I thought that was really well done. But I don't rate it one of his highest films. I like some of it. But that same year, he did make one of his best films, I think, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is actually probably his most successful film as a director-writer himself. Many, many memorable scenes. And
that's very similar to, I think, 16 Candles, because it just has these moments just out of the out of the wings, so to speak. Just these strange little moments that, I mean, come on, them being in the middle of the parade,
the
be able to do that.
scene.
Yeah, the museum scene. Them taking it. I mean, just these strange little scenes that come out of nowhere, but it's a very enjoyable film. Charlie Sheen talking to the sister, Jennifer Grey.
It's one of those films where I feel like I should hate because everybody likes it.
How you feel? I saw it. Yeah.
But I can't help but enjoy it. Yeah, it's probably his most purely entertaining movie.
I'll agree with you on that. It's illogical, as you said, just all the stuff that happens. But you know what? It's not supposed to be a logical film. It's a lot of fun. And the two performances that I like the most in that movie, and we have to give it up, everybody. Jeffrey Jones is unfucking believable in that movie. He is hysterical. He made me laugh more than
he might have the best quote in the film when he sees Mia Sara and Ferris Bueller make out. He goes, "Huh, so that's how it is in that family." I mean, that's like, to me, that's like the best quote in the whole film.
And I love this. I also we got to give credit to Alan Ruck, who's absolutely hysterical as Cameron.
Who I saw on the subway platform the other day, and this woman came up to him very confused, and said, "How do I get to the 16th Street so and so?" And he goes like, "You want to get to the 16th so and so? Well, I'll tell you." And he was so vocal about it, and I wanted to go up and say, it really sucked when you got sick and you left Spin City, because he was very good on that. But yeah, he was.
Well, those are the two supporting
Colin,
performances. Cameron.
Right.
Those are the two best performances. Jeffrey Jones, though, I mean, that's the role of a lifetime. His best performance, I mean, it's wonderful. Is Ed Rooney? I remember now. Ed Rooney. And
so did he sound like when he was playing her father, shouting Rooney?
Yeah, kind of. That was what was funny.
Rooney? No.
Sausage King of Chicago.
Sorry. But that went on, Ferris Bueller's went on to actually inspire a TV series and made Matthew Broderick a bigger star than he was at the time.
I mean, come on. Ferris Bueller essentially made the I Dream of Jeannie theme song cool.
I got to say this. You have to give major props to Matthew Broderick. Because if you think about it, if I could imagine reading the script, and I would not have pictured Matthew Broderick physically in that part. And yet he just totally makes it believable.
You know what's so funny is
he wasn't the first choice. What was strange is, who a little bit of trivia here, the first choice of that? William Holden. Isn't that weird?
What?
Anyway.
He's dead. He was dead. He hit his head on a coffee table. No, that role looks like it was written for me, written for Anthony
for you?
Hall. No. Yeah, I can see that.
That's worse than William Holden.
All right.
That's worse than an Angelica Houston.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to his next film, which actually is, I believe at the time, well, actually, no, it's not his first R-rated film, but it's an R-rated film. After many teen films, he went on to do an adult film, which actually is one of his most enjoyable films, which is one you just can't help but love, which is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy and Steve Martin.
Two of my favorite on-screen
who played
comedians.
two guys who want to get home for Thanksgiving. And let me tell you, these guys had wonderful, wonderful, wonderful chemistry.
How they didn't make another film together, I don't know.
It's a damn shame that John Candy died. He died 4 years, like about 5 years later. No, he died in '94. Well, a few years later anyway, and I guess they just weren't able to team up. But those two were just wonderful. They reminded me of a modern-day Laurel and Hardy in that film. They were
Why
wonderful.
in hell was Steve Martin making Cheaper by the Dozen movies?
I don't know why.
I mean, it's one of the great mysteries.
Steve Martin is a great talent, and
money.
John Candy and him play off each other wonderfully. There's many scenes in there that are sentimental, but actually very touching in some ways. But they are.
I'm telling you, man, nothing is funnier than Steve Martin when they're driving the wrong way, and Steve Martin looks over at John Candy, and he pictures John Candy as the devil laughing. Oh, that is That is great.
And
I mean, come on, the famous line, "You're going the wrong way." I mean, that is
it's
like
something that you don't see Steve Martin. You know what? I think Steve Martin's phenomenally talented. I think he's fucking brilliant, and he makes some bad choices. You know, like Pink Panther. Fucking, what the hell was he thinking?
Right. No, you know what's even worse is that Queen Latifah film that he did.
Yeah, even worse.
On.
But something that you haven't seen Steve Martin play in a while.
Straight man.
Is that kind of straight man, but that like kind of like almost nasty straight man. That kind of like that
has
kind of built up frustration. He's just ready. You know, that brilliant. You know, everyone talks about the scene that made it an R-rated film.
Yes, in the
and that's what Steve Martin excels at. You know, and you don't really see him do those roles anymore.
And that's a hard role to play, I want to put off, because he's supposed to be this really, kind of arrogant, tough guy, but somewhat likable, and he pulls that off, and that's a really hard role to pull off.
I don't think he's really portrayed as likable. I think he's like this everyday business executive that misses his family. He's just trying to get home, and he's trying so hard. That's the whole film. His patience being whittled down and tried by Dell this whole time, and finally at the end, he explodes on Dell. Especially, with all the different things that happen, and of course, John Candy's one great line coming back was, "I like me, I like me."
Actually,
and your heart's breaking, and then you realize that this character's wife died, and he is alone all the time, and you see through that. It's completely sentimental and manipulative, but you don't mind. It's probably one of the best Thanksgiving movies of all time.
Well,
Are there any other Thanksgiving movies?
Star Wars.
No, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. But no, my friend actually had a very interesting theory about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He loves the movie, but we get into a huge fight. And I mean, he's dead serious about it.
Is this your Republican friend?
No, it's a different friend. He's a liberal Democrat, you'd be happy to know. Die-hard one. But as you know, John Candy takes this trunk with him the entire trip. It's a whole gag, him dragging this trunk that has all these shower curtain rings in it. My friend actually was convinced, and he said the movie he loved the movie until the end because he said it copped out. He said they should have opened the trunk. The wife should have been in the trunk. I'm like,
that's not such a bad idea.
I was like, are you kidding me? But this is all. John Hughes is not that deep, dude. Come on, But I just laugh every time I think about that. I mean, it's just absolutely.
And you're laughing because you're disturbed.
Well,
that's a great anecdote.
I do want to say my favorite scene in the movie is the scene where they're sleeping and John Candy is holding Steve Martin, and he goes, "Where do you have your hand?" In between two pillows.
Those are pillows. And then they talk about the Bears game.
Wonderful.
Let's talk about your favorite John Hughes film, Home Alone.
Well,
you said you cried a lot during that. Was that true?
No, I did not. We only got 1 minute left, so we're going to have to make this a two-parter. But let's get really quickly into She's Having a Baby, which I'm going to give to you, Jeff.
That was a film that starred Kevin Bacon as he, started wondering, was it worth it when he married his girlfriend, played by, I believe, is it
Elizabeth McGovern.
And, all the trials and tribulations. It also had a very young Alec Baldwin in it.
All right. Well, we're going to continue this next week, so tune in. I think we will. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Yeah, we're gonna add this in. We'll see you next week with part 2. But
do we have enough to talk about?
There's a part 2 to John Hughes.
Yeah. Do we have enough to talk about?
Over.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.